Hello! I haven't done this in a while. I took a bit of a break for various reasons, but I am coming back, and I wanted to sort of dive back in. I did try my hand at NaNoWriMo this November, and that didn't quite work out, but I did actually get quite a bit of work done on a book, which I'm probably going to finish, looks like. But yeah, 50,000 words in the month of November did not happen. But it was a good experience. I always have a good experience trying. Now, that said, I did want to dive back into making videos and working on my other stuff. There's something about NaNoWriMo where it makes you feel guilty for working on anything other than writing the book, which is maybe not great, but it is a thing. So, let me dive back into a video. This time around, I'm actually going to review some stuff. Yeah, I know. I am sort of hit or miss on my reviews. I don't always do a lot of them. I'd like to do more, but I don't get asked to do many reviews, so, usually it's just me deciding to do it on my own. Once in a while, somebody will send me something and say, hey, will you review this? And, of course, I'm happy to do that. This one is sort of a mix of that. And in the interest of being transparent and some full disclosure, I'm going to be reviewing a couple of products written by a friend of mine, Brandes Stoddard. If you've not read his stuff before, you probably should. He's really quite good. And he has been involved with Rite Publishing doing some of the 5e conversion of some previously Pathfinder products. Wow, that's a complicated sentence. Anyways, so I'm going to take a whack at these. I did buy one of them myself, the Kaiju Codex, and one of them was given to me as a review copy in the Company of Giants. I received that as a review copy. Just stating that for full disclosure, you'll be able to tell by my review, I try not to play favorites. But I wanted to be upfront about that. Now, let's talk about the first one, the Kaiju Codex. Now, the Kaiju Codex is interesting. I'm fond of Godzilla. Do you like Godzilla? Godzilla is a kaiju. Kaiju in Japanese means strange creature, but it's come to mean monster, particularly large monsters. That's sort of the word that's used to describe a particular genre of films involving giant monsters. Your Godzilla, your Mothra, King Ghidorah, and so on. Now, Kaiju in D&D is a little bit different. The Kaiju Codex, originally for Pathfinder, now for 5e, is a book of monsters for your campaign that would count as kaiju. And, they're not just Godzilla ripoffs either. They're their own unique things, and there are 20 of them. So, they're pretty cool. Now, kaiju, by their nature, are a threat by themselves. They don't have minions. They're not like a lich or a vampire. Even a dragon sometimes has people that work for it, like, a bunch of kobolds that worship it or something like that. Beholders will sometimes have minions that, they dominate. Mind flayers. All kinds of monsters have minions. Kaiju don't, as a general rule, at any rate. Kaiju are the problem. And so to do that in 5th edition, well, they made them pretty hard, but, they had to pull a few systemic tricks to make them even more durable and more of a fight by themselves. If you've ever read about 5th edition, you've probably realized that the odds are always in favor of the most die rolls. So if you have 7 or 6, 7, even 4 PCs attacking one target, advantage PCs. Because they're going to get more attacks, they're going to get more chances to roll the dice, and they're more likely to hit. There is no such thing as a creature that just can't be hit in D&D anymore. So, yeah. Anyways, how do they handle them? They do colossal creatures. This assumes that they are so big that
normal damage is not really an option. If a creature of huge size or smaller does damage to a colossal creature, it's halved. And that's even before they apply resistances or successful saves. It's halved off the top. This also applies to 8th level spells or lower. So, I mean, that's pretty potent. That means you're doing half damage with pretty much everything up until you get to, epic level characters. Now, this is, this is only for really super huge creatures. This is gargantuan creatures can get this. And only gargantuan creatures can bypass that half damage thing. Those siege weapons and creatures with the siege monster trait. Which there are a few of them out there that aren't in the gargantuan size. So it's good that they have that there. Also 9th level spells or spells cast as 9th level do full damage. Now, considering that many of these creatures have more than 400 or 500 hit points, that's going to be a long, hard slog of a fight. And, sometimes that's what you want. And this is a set of monsters for you, if that's the encounter you want. Also, add into that most of these creatures have damage resistances and some damage immunities on top of all of that. So they're just so hard to kill. Now, I think all of the ones listed in the book also have legendary resistances. So 3 times a fight, they can just declare that they won their save. Even if they miss the save, they can go, no, I've got that. Now, they do have a lesser kaiju trait as well, which is sort of like the colossal creature, except the cutoff for size is large. So if you're a large creature or smaller, you do half damage instead of huge. So a huge creature does full damage, but large creatures still is doing half damage. And the spell cutoff is 7th level. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same effect. Now, monsters range in power from the CR8 for basically a super large goblin to CR30 for World Shaker, the living core of a planet. So you got a range of things that you can work with. Obviously, you're not going to throw these at first level characters, but it's they definitely have you set up for whatever level your campaign is at. Now, they're all unique creatures. There are no races of kaiju monsters, right? So, when you fight World Shaker, there's only one World Shaker. There isn't like a bunch of World Shakers off somewhere else. This is a unique creature. This is the same with Adam the Defender, which is a giant robot. That is the only giant robot. There isn't an army of giant robots. It's just him. It's the same for that which the stars reject, and some of the other creatures. All of them are unique. They do have unique traits. They do include, at the end of the book, some magical equipment, including a giant mechanical knight, which is piloted by multiple people, and is, on par with fighting kaiju. So, sort of a magical Voltron, I guess. Sort of. Without the separating into different lions bit. Now, the monsters that stood out for me out of this book, you've got the Great Charybdis. The Great Charybdis is a great sea monster from Greek myth. In the myth, it's more or less a spinning whirlpool of death. In this case, it's just a creature that swallows everything it can, and that's really kind of cool. It's designed to eat entire fleets. The other one that stuck out for me, of course, is World Shaker. I just like the feel of that creature. It's a creature that's designed to basically destroy the world. And he's more like both of these creatures are more like forces of nature than things with personalities and, motivations that are comprehensible, which is what I liked about it. There are a few nitpicks here, so I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the way. First, this was a book originally written for Pathfinder. I don't mind that. Pathfinder's fine. I like the Pathfinder setting. The Pathfinder setting embraces the science fantasy elements of the D&D tradition far more than just about any other setting that I've seen, which is to say you have a lot more sci-fi things show up in Pathfinder, and there are two or three creatures that are straight up sci-fi creatures, and that's not including the magical mecha thing in the equipment section. All of these would have a hard time fitting in thematically in a place like Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or Kryn or Tal'Dorei or whatever your typical fantasy setting is. So, those are going to be maybe less useful to some people depending on their campaigns. And it's not a serious knock. It's just you probably should be aware of that. There would be some problems with the creatures. Not that the creatures themselves are bad, but it feels like they missed some opportunities. There are creatures in D&D that are absolutely, kaiju material. Dragon turtles. They're huge. They're like 30 feet across. They're massive creatures. The Tarrasque. Tarrasques are kaiju. They really are. Even some of the more powerful dragons could be considered kaiju. The fact that they didn't tackle any of those and produce a sort of kaiju spin on any of those creatures feels like a missed opportunity. If I ran Tarrasque, I would absolutely slap some of the mechanical things that were in this book onto the Tarrasque and use it as a genuine terrifying force of nature bad guy. So that's a minor nit, but it feels like they left out some stuff that could have been more awesome, I guess. And the final nit that I'm going to pick, it's again another missed opportunity. The opening of the book, there's a section about how you might work your kaiju into a campaign and how players might deal with kaiju. And it's only a couple of paragraphs. It actually suggests the method that I would use, which is treat it like a natural disaster, they're not going to stop these monsters. They're there to survive, to help other people get out of the way of these monsters. You don't kill a Tarrasque until you're, epic level. But you can help save people who are in the path of the Tarrasque that's, burning its way across the country. And that's a great thing, but they give no guidance on that. They basically mention it in a throwaway paragraph, and that's it. None of these creatures get any guidance as to how to work them into your campaign. Here's the creature. That's it. Here's the creature. They do include like little mini stories to give you an idea of the flavor of the creature, which is helpful, but it feels like a missed opportunity to not add some guidance of how do you work this into your campaign, and how do you run a game where you're not going to be fighting directly, you're going to be saving people. How do you do that kind of skill challenge style game? So that felt like a missed opportunity. That said, really my nitpicks boil down to, I wish the book had had more stuff. And honestly, if that's my only complaint, that's not that bad. The art's fine. A couple of them look a little too cutesy, but, other than that, the art's really good. The layout's fine. The rules are compelling and interesting in several places. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely useful if you have a desire to put a kaiju in your game, in your D&D game. I would recommend this because you got some serious contenders for putting a kaiju in your game. Now, on to the next one. This is a little shorter. It's called In the Company of Giants, revised edition for 5th edition. This isn't a monster collection. This is a PC option. Giants are cool, right? I've always been fond of giants. Who can't love a giant? It's like a person, only bigger. There's a certain element to that imagery that makes them compelling and fun to put in your D&D game. That said, some of the PC options related to giants haven't always been great. There have been some good ones. I kind of like Goliaths. But, the half-giant wasn't great. There are a few others that just didn't work out quite right. So, it's nice to see somebody taking another pass at that idea. Now, In the Company of Giants is tied to a new race for 5th edition. They're called the Jotun. And they're basically giant kin with strong attachments to different giant races. The base race stats are solidly powerful, with good support for playing a fighter or a barbarian or maybe even a cleric. They get bonuses to strength and or con or wisdom. So they actually have a range of things that they'd probably be pretty good at. That said, it also includes a class option here. This is for you to play the most gianty giant that ever gianted a giant. They call it the Jotun Paragon class. As you go up in level, you can do interesting things. The Jotun at the base is just the large end of medium-sized creature. They're like 7 feet tall. They're big, but they're not, large or huge or what have you. If you take the Paragon class, you can actually get the ability to increase your size to large. You can also shrink back down, which is also interesting. And it gives you some other gianty things like specialized attacks like slam or rock throwing and that sort of thing. But the interesting part of that class is picking your Jotun legacy. Now, your Jotun legacy is sort of like your giant bloodline. For instance, if you took Cloud Giant as your Jotun legacy. At 10th level, you can walk on clouds like they're solid ground. Because that's the thing that cloud giants do. Fire giants, fire giant tied Jotun, can eventually cancel fire damage and even absorb it to help their own attacks. That's pretty cool. The first half of the book describes the giant's society, and their religious code of behavior. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, it's based off of Norse mythology. I mean, Jotun is the Norse term for giants, right? They have Jotunheim. They have a strongly Viking Norseman societal structure and behaviors, and it's really based off the myths of the Northmen. If you like Vikings, you'll probably like their culture. So my nitpick here. I can nitpick anything, for the record. My nitpick here is that I think maybe the Jotun Paragon class might be difficult to manage in a number of games. The size change ability is kind of a game changer in a lot of encounters. The lot of the way D&D is written, it assumes certain things about the PCs. The fact that there isn't normally a large-sized creature, might change some of your encounters. This isn't to say that you shouldn't get it because of blah. I'm just saying that you should be aware that size change can be somewhat dramatic. The other abilities are also pretty broad. They're no worse than a spellcaster at that level, but they are innate, and it's something to keep in mind if you're going to allow that class into your campaign. You should think about its impact before you let it in, is what I'm saying. That said, I like the book overall. The art is excellent. I actually really like the art in this one. I like the culture that they wrote up. I thought it was fascinating and neat. They weren't, suddenly turning giants into good guys, but they also were explaining their behavior in such a manner that it made sense. I think that the Jotun race by itself, even without the Jotun Paragon class, is a pretty compelling giant tie-in. You might replace Goliaths with them. It's one of the few races that gets a possible wisdom bonus. You can choose con or wisdom, which, is particularly helpful if you're playing a character that uses wisdom a lot. Maybe you play a monk or a cleric or something. Having a wisdom bonus on the creature, on top of them also being really strong, really kind of plays well, I think. I think the Paragon class itself is pretty flashy, and it's got a lot of awesome to it. So I would probably let it into my game, but I think that other people will want to have that conversation player to DM so that they know what's involved in that class, because it's not like a number of other classes that size change thing is kind of dramatic. Anyway, thought I should let you know what I thought on those things. Brandes was, getting some of these things out, and I bought one, and I said, hey, can I have a review copy of the other one? I think we're going to review them. And he said, yeah, sure. And that's my review. They're both by Rite Publishing, who are known for doing Pathfinder, but they do other things. And they've been doing a lot of 5e conversions of their Pathfinder stuff. They did Lords of Gossamer's Shadow. So, yeah, it's a good company, and both of these are reasonably priced. You can get them anywhere that you pick up your PDFs, Drive-Thru RPG, and I will put a link in the doobly-doo, as they say. if you've got these, tell me what you think. I'd be interested to hear what other people have done with them in the past. Subscribe, like, share with people. I'm going to try and be a little bit better about putting out content more regularly now that November's over. The holidays are tricky, but I'm going to try. If you know of a product that I should review, let me know. Otherwise, good talking to you guys again, and happy holidays and all that jazz.